Before we start, I do have to say thank you to the sponsor of that beautiful little red device that's up there. Intel has been very kind to sponsor the equipment that we use for this demonstration. We manufactured actually 7 of these little units across Asia Pacific, and everything we do today is running on the machine that you see there. It's live connected to the internet for some of the pieces of the demonstration that we do as well, and there's actually some audience participation in this demonstration later on if you're up for it. So, bear in mind, it's all running here. All right? Thank you, Intel. So we looked at this theme that, as Brent and some of the other speakers said, around digital transformation. We've heard the word so many times. And we said, if we're going to take a demo, how do we try to communicate and make it real? What can you do as a normal company that may be looking at all these things, software eating the world and whatnot? How can Red Hat help me with that? So we asked that question of ourselves, and we came up with 3 major themes that we think we wanted to address when delivering a keynote demo like this. The first thing really is, how can we deliver the ability to control more what you have in IT assets today? Because if you're going to do new things with your IT assets, you better know what your IT assets are and have the ability to control them as and when you need to. The second thing we analyzed was, how do you leverage what you have, right? Some of our competitors in particular are pitching drop everything you've done, you have to start new in order to be new. We kind of don't feel that is the only path to success, and if you have good assets today, being able to leverage those and maybe even unlock new business potential with them through technology is a good idea. And then finally, really, if you have control, if you have the ability to leverage what's in your IT environment, you can probably start to assemble and reimagine certain things and choose to become a disruptor of your own, either in your own portfolio, or maybe even look at disrupting someone else's business entirely, if you're up for it. So we're going to go through these 3 types of scenarios using a live demonstration today. Now, before we proceed, we've also put some role play into this. And bear in mind that we're not professional actors, so there's a slight chance we go off script and do things wrong. Just go with the flow when that happens. The company that we will be presenting to you is called Destinasia. It's a fictitious company. Does not exist in any form or way, at least to my knowledge. You guys didn't found it when I wasn't paying attention.
No.
Okay. You'll meet 3 people in the role play here today. Number 1, the Chief Executive Officer. I will be assuming that role later on. And then you'll meet Kingsley, who is the head of infrastructure of Destinasia. And there's Vishal, who is the head of app development of Destinasia. Now, everything we show you today is real code. If you want to, feel it out later on, feel free to talk to us. We can show you how this thing has worked. There's no smoke and mirrors in any of this stuff. And more importantly, it's built on shipping products. We're not taking any, I know, my head's still on, thank you, Martin. There's no upstream code and those sorts of things in here. This is anything on the menu that Red Hat offers today. Now, you may be wondering why I'm wearing the red hat and these guys are not. Because we are doing role playing, we're going to switch between being employees of Destinasia and sometimes explaining something as a Red Hat person. Every time we wear this, we're acting the Red Hat role. When we're not wearing this, we're Destinasia employees. Okay, so I'm going to take this off now and start our little engagement here. Thank you. So let me introduce myself. My name is Frank Flymore. I am the CEO of a company called Destinasia. We are a global enterprise, and we've established a travel portfolio that offers hotels, flights, and car rentals. We have started as a normal travel company with traditional retail, brick and mortar type outlets, and then when the web came along, we evolved and established an online portal that we use to, attract more customers and so forth. And I was employee number 1. Now, recently, my business has had a bit of a struggling time. Thank you, Colin. People are giving direct feedback, and as the CEO, I'm a relatively old guy. I'm not that familiar with all this Twitter stuff, but some of these people are pretty prominent in terms of their exposure on Twitter. Donald Trump, you may have heard of this gentleman. He recently tried to get a hotel when he went to the G20, and really, we messed it up apparently, and well, we were fired. So not so good to have this sort of feedback. Looking a little closer to our revenue, I can honestly tell you this is not going the way it should. You know, my business has been sliding quarter on quarter. My hotel bookings are down by 25%. My flight bookings are down by another 30%. And all this time, the platform and the technologies that I have are increasing in terms of expenses. I'm not getting any cheaper, but I'm not making any money either. This is bad, and it's because of a lot of things have changed around me, you know. We have other companies entering into my space, you know, things like Airbnb and whatnot. Very dangerous time for my company, and I need to think about how to change this. So my guys in here, we talked about it, and we said, you know what? We're going to go and attend what's called a Red Hat Open Innovation Lab residency. And this is a new thing Red Hat has introduced that allows us to bring our developers and business leaders into almost like an incubator sort of phase and discuss with them how to evolve and transform our business. So my guys just came back from this engagement, and well, I said to them, why don't you go and tell us about the good news of this engagement that you had there? So Vishal, what really happened when you went there?
So Frank, we have a lot of good news to share with you today. And then one of the things that, you know, we have always had a challenge with is around enabling our customers to make bookings using the mobile channel. We have never been able to do that.
Yeah.
So during the, I think, 6 weeks that we were with the Red Hat Open Innovation Lab guys, we discussed this with them, and together with their expert teams, we actually came out with a prototype that will allow us to do exactly something like this.
Wait, what? You build a prototype in a couple of weeks with these guys?
That's
you know,
right.
The word prototype means nothing to me, right? You mean it's a finished product then, right, when you say that?
Well, almost like that, almost like that.
So is this working?
You bet it's working.
See, that's why you're my app dev
Thank
guy.
you very much for the word of confidence, Frank. And I think let's just show it to them. All right, Kingsley?
Let's
so you do that.
Sure.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
So Frank, this is what we actually developed in just a couple of weeks with, you know, the experts at Red Hat. Now, in the past, you know, we need to go to different websites to book for flights, hotels, and cars. We have been able to create an application, a mobile application, in fact, that allows you to do all these 3 activities all at the same time from one single, easy-to-use mobile interface. Now, let me just run through this particular application that we have developed by making a sample transaction. So let's make a flight booking, a hotel booking, and a car booking under your name, Frank Flymore, right?
Yeah.
Frank Flymore. Let's plan for this travel towards the end of the year, somewhere, you know, 23rd
when we do the Beijing
December.
thing.
Right. That's right. We're going to be in Beijing around that time for another travel conference. So let's plan to be, you know, come back to Singapore, spend a couple of days for
three of us.
Yeah. That's right. And let's stay in Singapore for 5 days before we fly out again.
Only 5 days? Can't we stay longer?
Hey,
come on.
expenses, remember?
Expenses, right. Yeah. Right.
What a slave driver, huh? Gee.
So, you know, once we have filled up this particular application, you know, all the fields, we click here. And what happens is that, you know, we'll be presented with a list of options, you know, that's available for us to choose for flights, for hotels, and for cars. Now, for the purpose of this demonstration, Frank, I'm going to stick with the default options. I'm going to click here. And what happens is this particular request goes all the way to our backend travel systems to confirm the booking, and it comes back with the final itinerary. Now, you will see that, you know, we have actually qualified for certain discounts. So that's one of the things that we try to do. So you'll see that we got a 15% discount for our flight, 15% for hotels, nothing for cars, and you'll see the consolidated, the final amount for, you know, all this.
That's a high discount, right? I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that.
We can do that after this demo. But you know what's the other cool thing about this particular mobile app that we have developed is that, you know, you can run it from any mobile device. All that you need is actually just a mobile web browser. So what do you think of this, Frank?
I think it's pretty cool, actually. It looks awesome, very easy to book.
That's right.
But how come you did all 3 bookings in one go? If I remember correctly, our travel portal doesn't do that, right? You have a screen for flights and then a screen for, you just did one screen and it went through.
It's exactly what I said, and I think,
Smart, huh?
I've not seen someone as observant as him. I mean, he
Amazing,
figured that out. I guess, Frank, that's why you are the CEO. Now to actually explain to you how we did that, we basically did two things. First of all, we containerized all of our back-end travel systems, and secondly, we integrated all of this containerized system using a brand new flow for booking travel. Now, these are all very complex sentences, so why don't I show you exactly what we did? So, have a look at the screen here. So this is the brand new flow that we have developed for booking travel. Now, when I submitted a request from the mobile application that I demoed just now, the request actually goes into this flow. So let me just explain this flow. So request comes into this particular box here. So this is the main so-called the entry point for the request, and then it will go through some of these other boxes that you see. And now what happens here is that the request is actually going through some transformation, message transformation. The message is analyzed and it's split. Now, based on the options that you have selected, you could have selected just flights instead of flights, hotels, and cars. That particular message is going to be routed to one or more of our 3 back-end travel systems.
Wait, so in parallel, we do all 3 now?
Exactly, and that's why we just have one screen to do everything, right?
Awesome.
So it can go to your back-end, flight system, hotel system, or your back-end, car system. Now, the other thing is that, since these are containerized, we now have the ability to scale each of these systems independently. Mm-hmm. So if, during Chinese New Year, when we see a sudden surge in hotel bookings, we are able to just scale independently the hotel, system to meet the demands of the, business during that time.
That's great.
That's great.
I like it.
Thank you, Kingsley. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Destinasia is using the Red Hat OpenShift container platform to containerize its various back-end travel systems. Now, OpenShift is a container application platform that is built on Docker and Kubernetes. Now, it enables businesses to basically provision quickly and build efficiently so that they are able to get their apps to market faster through standardization of their developer workflows. Now, when an enterprise relies on or uses OpenShift, their developers will have the freedom and flexibility to use their preferred tools and languages to build and deploy these apps in a self-service manner. Now, the other cool thing is that these apps can be scaled automatically based on the demands of the business. Now, as we all know, when you want to develop an application, right, you have to, more often than not, integrate many of these, smaller containerized applications or even legacy applications. And integration is not easy. It's complex. It's a very time-consuming process. That's where technology such as the Red Hat JBoss Fuse integration platform can really come and help you. So basically, what is JBoss Fuse? It's an integration platform that provides you with common integration patterns. So if you want to do things like message transformation, if you want to connect to some external connectors, it gives you all these integration patterns so that your developers don't need to code this. What this means for you is that the developers' productivity is improved tremendously because they don't have to reinvent the wheel. Now, if you remember the booking flow that I showed you just now, each of the boxes in that flow is actually an integration pattern that's developed using Red Hat JBoss Fuse.
That's incredible, man. I mean, seriously, we can add other services like that very quickly, right?
You definitely can.
But I remember in the past when we did integration, we were using very expensive things like service bus and that sort of stuff. What happened?
So that's right, Frank, and that's how we used to do things in the past. Now, when we were at Red Hat, the folks at the Open Innovation Labs introduced us to this new technology they call as API management technology. Ooh. So what we actually did was we exposed all of our back-end travel systems as APIs using the REST protocol. So while our underlying systems today are written using different languages, we have some using Python, .NET, and Java EE, now we have enabled them to communicate using the same protocol and same data format, basically REST and JSON. So essentially, we have made all of our backend systems speak the same universal language.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really good. So these integrations and future integrations can be easily assembled any way we like. I mean,
That's
that makes us a lot more agile as a business, right?
Absolutely, Frank. And that's not all. There are a lot of other exciting benefits that this API management technology can offer Destinasia, but I'll come back to that later on.
I look forward to it already. Very nice. Okay. So how about the mobile app? Because honestly, that was quite impressive. Being able to do the combination booking. But
That's right.
remember the 15% discount thing? That really bothers me. I don't want to wait until after the demo to come back to it. What exactly is going on, and how is it possible that we have that? Did you guys do something special?
Wow, that's so perceptive, right, Kingsley? And I guess
Top
that's
guy.
why you are our CEO. So let me just summarize the problem that Destinasia is facing today. We have always struggled to respond to ad hoc and seasonality changes, which are very common in a travel industry. So we have not been able to capitalize fast enough, to take advantage of these sudden surges in travel spending that happens, sometimes just all of a sudden. We are not able to do that because our systems are not able to change as quickly. So we went back to the folks at RHF, while we were with them, and they told us that in order to do this in an agile manner, we have got to incorporate a business rule management solution as part of our overall application architecture.
Man, that's a lot of buzzwords.
There's a lot of buzzwords, but I'm going to simplify all that buzz with some great stuff in front of you right now. So have a look at this, and Kingsley, if you would,
Yeah, you
shall
want
we
to click
switch
that
to
and I'll
the
switch over.
right?
There you go.
So what we have done is to take out all of the promotion and discount rules that's driving all of our discounts for our flights, hotels, and cars. And we have incorporated and captured them in this particular business-friendly interface. We call it the business rule console. So this particular user-friendly environment allows us to capture and harvest all the rules that are driving our promotions in Destinasia. So let me just go through this particular interface to explain what actually is happening here. So we have defined a couple of rules here. This is just a sampling of all the rules that we have in Destinasia. Let's go through the first business rule. So this rule defines that for all flights that are originating out of Singapore to any of these destinations that you see here, that particular request or transaction will be entitled to a 10% discount for flights. All right, we have another one here, it's long stay business rule. So we want to incentivize our customers who are staying for 15 nights or more, long stay, and we give them like a 20% discount on their hotel booking.
See, I told you we should have stayed longer, huh? We could have got
We
a
should have said
20%
that,
discount. Huh?
You always want to stay longer, no matter where we go.
Kingsley,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
talk about that later. The last rule is interesting, Frank. So this is a flight and hotel combo discount rule, which defines that for any flights that originating from any of this country, including Beijing to Singapore, and where you have at least a 2 stay in an accommodation, you get a 15% discount for flights and hotels. And that's why when I did my demo just now, I got a 15% flight for both hotels, and flights, because I was going from Beijing to Singapore, staying for like 5 nights.
This looks like a spreadsheet, Vishal. I mean, we used to write a lot of code for this stuff.
That's right, and in fact, it is like a spreadsheet, because if you want to enter, let's say today, a new business rule, new search happening because of some festival that's happening, all that you need to do, it's basically add a row, define the rule description, the criteria for the rule, the actions for the rule, deploy it in production, and it's there, live.
Wow, so I can do this too then.
Even you can do that.
Even
That's
you.
great.
So, as you can see, Destinasia is using the Red Hat JBoss business rule management system to respond to its business challenges in an agile fashion. Now, what's a BRMS? BRMS actually is a technology that allows you to externalize your hard-coded business logic from your core application. And what this allows you to do then is that you are able to introduce new business rules faster, because you don't need to touch the complex application code that you have developed. Now, at the same time, it also provides you with a great level of visibility because you can actually see what rules are running in your production environments today. It's a spreadsheet environment. You can actually see the rules. You don't have to go into Java code to see that. So all in all, what enterprises get when they use a BRMS is that they get great control over the rules that are actually driving their business.
Wow, I think that's really good. You know, the business logic can now respond to seasonality. I bet when we do this, people will fly more, right? But I have to say, guys, I am a little worried about our infrastructure being able to handle these spikes. It's all nice and dandy that we can make our rules change, but we haven't touched on the problem we had last time with Chinese New Year. What was it, 60 servers in 5 weeks, and it took a very, very long time for you and your team, Kingsley,
Long
to
weekends,
get that up.
yeah.
So did you guys discuss this at all when you were in the residency with Red Hat?
Well, Frank, I'm really glad you asked, because you're right, we did. We talked all about how we can better manage our infrastructure. Now, with Vishal's new container-based distributed architecture, we can take the application and the data and the business rules and split them up. We can distribute them. So I know it's always been really important for you, Frank, to keep the customer data safe on premises where we want it, right here, right?
Yeah.
But we can now take the application using OpenShift and distribute it to different infrastructure pools. So for instance, there's Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, and Google Cloud Platform. So we can distribute it all over the place. And as Vishal has pointed out, we can independently scale the different parts of the application so that we can add infrastructure as we go along.
So we can still run it on our box too, right?
Exactly, we can run it there as well. But it's pretty much like the shipping standards. You know, decades ago, we introduced a standard format for all the shipping containers in the world. And that enabled all the vehicles, the trains, the boats, and even the docks to understand and receive the same format, the same container format. And that's exactly what we're doing here. It's really all about portability. If we can take the application and make it portable, we can move it amongst the different infrastructures. And you can see how that really works well for us. But the best part about it, Frank, and I know you're going to like this, is that in the quiet periods where we don't need the infrastructure, we can discard the infrastructure we don't need, and we can save huge costs like that. So it gives us the ability to ramp up and ramp down, scale up and scale down.
No bookings, no costs.
Exactly. Very
like
smart.
That.
Very
I like
good.
that. That is really, really interesting. Well, I have to say, this almost sounds too good to be true, to be honest. Are you guys really sure that this is going to work? I mean, seriously?
I sure am, Frank. Let me show you what I mean, and I'll give you a bit of a demonstration here of what we saw with the Red Hat guys. So they introduced us to this amazing tool. It's a cloud management platform. And what it lets us do is get an aggregated view of all of our infrastructure. So in this view, for instance, this is a high-level dashboard. It shows all the different instances or guest OSs that we're running across our infrastructure, the various different flavors of Red Hat and over different areas and so on. But what I want you to focus on is the compute cloud stuff. And I'm going to show you what they call providers. And these are plugins that let us talk to different pools of infrastructure. So in this example, if I zoom in on this a little bit, you'll see that we've got some infrastructure in Amazon, some in Microsoft Azure, some in Google, and even OpenStack on premises. We can run that as well. So if I drill down, for instance, to Amazon, you can see that we've got various availability zones where Amazon distributes its infrastructure, and we can choose to put our instances in any one of those zones around the world, so when we have surges in traffic. An interesting view that you'll like here is this topology view. If I tidy it up a little bit, you'll see that Amazon here, for instance, we've got in the US East region, we've got a couple of demonstration instances that we are running just to make sure that we are understanding how it works. You can see how that happens.
These are
and
all
this
our
gives a
machines.
visualization. Yeah, these are
On
all
Amazon.
under our control, right? Just part of our infrastructure. Now, getting back to the on-premises infrastructure, if I have a look at the providers here, you'll recognize some of these names. If I just take this list up here.
Yeah,
so we've got
VMware
Microsoft
thing.
Hyper-V and stuff. I knew you were going to zero in on VMware. Let's actually look at that. If I look at the VMware dashboard, we can see here how many instances we got running, how many clusters, how many hosts. And I think you'll like to see this graph. This is over the past 30 days. Since we got back from the Open Innovation Labs, big decline, right? That's because we've taken things off of old school legacy operating system environments like VMs running in VMware, and we've containerized them and moved them over to OpenShift.
That's
so a pretty
awesome.
cool
That's
advance. huh?
Great timing because the ELA is coming up.
Exactly.
I like
so next
that.
time you go play golf with that VMware guy, you can have a different kind of discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so the final part of the compute I want to show you is the containers. Now, because OpenShift allows us to look into, with CloudForms allows us to look into OpenShift, we can actually use OpenShift as a provider inside of CloudForms. So if I look at that, and I go to Destinasia, and here on our dashboard, now this is actually running right here on the box. Okay, so we've got 3 Intel NUCs that are running all of our OpenShift hosts, and you can see the hosts there, the nodes, and all the containers running and so on. So what I can do is zero in on the topology, and it's a bit more busy here because it's got a whole bunch of stuff running for the demo.
Wow, that's a lot of containers.
It's a lot of stuff. I'll have to zoom out a little bit.
That's all on the little 3 machines.
All on the 3 NUCs here, yeah. So you can see the OCP, OpenShift Container Platform in the middle, and then the different NUCs with all the different containers running there. Now, it's a bit busy, so I might want to zero in. We heard Vishal and his team wrote the new Cars app, right? So if I zero in on Cars, we do a search on that. You see it highlights just the car containers. So we've got a couple of car containers running on this NUC and one on this NUC. Pretty simple,
like
huh?
application-centric view of the infrastructure.
Exactly.
That's
So
very
can we
cool.
see the hotels?
If you want to look at the hotel, sure, we can just zero in on that. And then it shows us where the containers
Very,
are.
very nice.
So we can keep track and manage all the infrastructure for the different components of the application, and we can independently scale it and manage it across different operating systems. Now, one more thing I'd like to show you, Frank, and I think you'll like this, is this concept that Red Hat taught us about chargeback. And if I go to chargeback, we look at, for instance, the projects. Some of the projects we've been running, we can actually allocate tags to the different container level, right down to the container level, and we can get the costs that each one of those application sections is costing us. So if the flights is really going up, the hotels are going down, we can see which one costs more money and
That's
so on.
especially important when we use those public cloud resources.
Exactly. We
can
want to
see
keep
how that's
an eye
balancing
on
out.
that and make sure.
I
But
like
because
that.
we've got the flexibility to move the applications
This
around,
is
we can
built-in standard feature?
we can move it around. It's all part of CloudForms. Exactly
Nice.
right. Yeah. All right. So let's put that there. Okay. This is the part I like, huh? So, folks, what you saw here was that Destinasia was able to adopt Red Hat CloudForms as a cloud management platform on top of OpenShift, which runs across a whole bunch of footprints. And you can distribute your applications across physical, virtual, private, and public clouds. And because it gives us the ability to move those applications consistently with a standard container format, we don't have to worry about whether it's going to run in each one of those platforms. So we can actually move things very dynamically, and it gives us huge amounts of agility to actually move like that. Now, CloudForms, given an aggregate view of this, lets us look at the entire infrastructure and manage it from a holistic point of view to make sure that we're running the business as efficiently as possible. And in this way, we can make sure the application sections are running in the best place at the time for those different components.
I think that's really powerful, Kingsley, but I'm a little worried, you know. All the things you just showed, they do look relatively complex. I understand this, tool can control, but all the knowledge about how to do this is, well, frankly speaking, in your head, and maybe 1 or 2 guys in your team. So did you guys discuss at all, how to get better at maybe extracting that from your head and, I don't know, putting it down on paper?
Well, Frank, that's really amazing. He's a pretty sharp guy, huh?
That's why, man.
Scary smart. That's why you're our CEO. You see, Frank, at Red Hat, they taught us something about automation, and this is really important. If all the tasks that we perform in the IT world are in someone's head, they're easily lost, especially when that person walks off somewhere else. So we want to capture them, exactly as you said, but we don't use paper anymore. We capture it as code. So it's called infrastructure as code. That's the concept here. And that makes all of our IT processes very repeatable and documented and make sure that they always happen the same way, the same time. Now, there's a tool I want to show you. Let me just flip over here, Frank, and show you what we're talking about. It's called Ansible. And Ansible is the technology that allows us to execute these IT tasks. Using Ansible, we can capture the things we need to do in playbooks. And those playbooks can be repeated and issued to the right people at the right time to let them execute them. So that's the execution engine. Now, this tool that you see on the screen is called Ansible Tower, and it lets us have an overview of all the IT tasks and infrastructure that we have to operate on. So let me walk you through this a little bit, Frank. So, for instance, We're going to organize the teams and the users into different categories, and people have different rights and different abilities. But one of the most important things about this is storing the credentials. Now, we're talking about all these public clouds, and costs can spiral out of control very quickly. So we want to make sure that the access to those public cloud infrastructures are very controlled. So, for instance, in Amazon Web Services, we might keep the secret keys, and if I ask it to show it here, you'll see it's encrypted. So only the top guys in the company have got access to the keys, and we can issue the use of them to the other people within the staff.
You mean the right guys?
The right guys,
them,
exactly. Man, he's
Okay.
sharp, huh?
He's very sharp
On the ball today, yeah. All right, so another way we can look at this is in Red Hat virtualization, for instance.
What's
If
that?
I look at, that's the virtualization engine we use to run OSs or VMs on premises.
Like VMware.
Much more efficient, much faster, yeah.
Okay.
Goes faster because it's a red one, yeah. So we got passwords that we can use, but we can also give authorization passwords, and these are temporary credentials to allow people to spin up a few instances, shut them down, and then do away with them. So
Like
we
a
can
one-time
control
token.
it. Exactly, one-time token,
awesome,
just
right?
like you use for your bank. Quite right.
Yeah.
So in Tower, we use projects to arrange all these things. So in Project Destinasia, we've got a whole bunch of playbooks to execute the delivery of the cars booking app, the flight booking app, etc. And we store all of that there. And then we operate those playbooks on what we call inventories. Now, for instance, we've got a Destinasia inventory sitting right here on the table. And that is, you see the Intel NUCs, NUC 2, NUC 3, and NUC 4. So all the playbooks that we do to deploy our application will be operated on that inventory if we wanted to.
And green means good, right?
Green means good, and it's all green at the moment. So in the template section, we choose one of these applications, like the car rental booking application. And then when we deploy it, we can actually tell it to ask the user where he wants to deploy. So he might want to do it onto a private cloud or a public cloud or Red Hat virtualization or anything like that. So for instance, in this templates, you see this little rocket ship? That means launch. So what I'm going to do right now, live and in color on stage, is deploy the latest version of Vishal's application team, the car rental booking application.
You sure
ready?
that's a good idea?
Let's go for it, huh? What's the
Yeah,
worst that could
try
happen? All right, so we're going to launch it. Now, the first thing it's going to do is come up and say, which infrastructure do you want to deploy it to? Now, I could pop it over in AWS or Microsoft Azure, but let's say, for instance, I wanted just to put it on the OpenShift container platform right now. So I'm going to launch it, and off it goes. Let's make it smaller. And there it's executing right now in front of us the deployment of that. Now, I don't need to know all the smarts of that, although it is in my head. I've got it all in infrastructure as a code, and it's executing it. And you can see we get a green successful, so it's running. Yep, and it's deployed. So that's the latest version of the car rental app deployed with an Ansible playbook onto the NUCs right here, right in front of you, live and in color. And then the best part about this, you'll really like this. Remember last time when the auditors came knocking?
Yeah.
Now you've got a full log
Trying to forget,
of
actually.
everything. Yeah. Now you don't have to forget. You can show them we've got a full log, full control, listing
Who
of
did
all the
what?
things. So the right people are executing the right things at the right time. Pretty neat, huh?
Very neat.
Yeah. So folks, what you saw were two components of the Red Hat management portfolio, CloudForms and Ansible. But there's actually two other parts to this story. There's Satellite, which is our standard operating environment lifecycle management system, which makes sure that all the platform that we're using, all the Red Hat platform, whether it be in the cloud or on premises, is all kept up to date, patched, made sure it's all secure. And then Red Hat has recently entered into a new technology field called, it's basically a software as a service called Insights. And this product leverages 2 decades of knowledge that Red Hat has accumulated by watching and observing thousands of customers using Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And it allows us to preemptively provide preemptive advice or remediation on things that may go wrong in the future. So, for instance, if something is going to happen wrong because of the logs that we're tracking and so on, we can provide a remediation script in the form of a playbook, which would use the Ansible execution engine to actually go out and deploy that and fix the operating system ahead of time. And that's where the Ansible execution engine actually ties all these things together. It operates with CloudForms, it operates with Satellite, and it makes sure that we can keep all your infrastructure that's managed by Red Hat consistent and under control.
These are really powerful tools, I have to say. So CloudForms is like a conductor, so to speak, of our orchestra of infrastructure. And then Ansible, I guess, is kind of like the musicians that are doing the various pieces of the work. Hey, I have an idea. Why don't we just give access to what you showed to our developers so they can just do what they need to do and provision the things they need? Can we do that?
Well, that's true, Frank. We can do that, but we want to do it in a little bit more of a refined way. So we have this concept of a self-service catalog, and that's basically a curated version of all the technology I just showed you. We don't want to give them access to everything and anything. We're just going to give them a curated version, right? So if I can flip over here and quickly show you, this is another view of CloudForms. This is what CloudForms exposes to our developers, to our staff. So they have a whole bunch of services and so on, which we can put in what we call a service catalog, and there you go. It's a simplified version. It's kind of like the App Store that you're familiar with on your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, just point and click. So all of the playbooks and the execution engines, including the credentials and the operating environments that are controlled, the inventories are all contained behind a simple button like this.
So if a developer needs to have an environment to work on the Cars app, they go here?
Exactly. And instead of deploying it to production, they deploy it to an environment just for their development. They can make changes, they can fiddle with it. It's not going to mess up anyone else's, and then when they're done, they can just throw it away. Real simple.
All right.
But there's one icon you might recognize there. You see the one in the middle in the bottom row? Can you believe that Microsoft has taken their flagship database and moved it over to a modern operating system, Red Hat Enterprise Linux?
Get out of here.
Unbelievable.
Really?
Better than that, they've actually containerized it, so we can now run Microsoft SQL Server containerized alongside the rest of our applications in OpenShift Container Platform.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
So we can actually reduce our Oracle dependency with that.
You got it.
I love it.
Well,
Oh. So guys, I'm really impressed so far. But seriously, how sure are you that, remember the conversation we had about seasonality, right? That this will
Yes.
actually address our seasonality challenges, right? Chinese New Year is not too far away. I don't want to see this container stuff go when we're trying to actually make more bookings, right?
right.
So, any ideas on whether this will work?
Wow, Frank, you just never cease to amaze me with your forward-thinking vision. It's fantastic. So basically what we're going to do about that is we're going to create a simulated environment. So we've got the NUCs here, and we're going to be able to put a simulated booking system coming in. So it's as if a whole bunch of people were booking, and that way we can verify that the vendors can handle it, we can verify that the system's able to handle it, and we can test the system right through without doing this live and at the worst possible moment.
I don't know. Simulations, they always sound rigged to me. What do you guys think? This is not a good idea, right? Simulations. Can't we do something with real users in this?
Wow. Frank, this is amazing. This guy is so sharp, huh? Well, we've got an audience here. Why don't we ask them to
Yeah.
participate? Yeah.
Who's got a
What about the
mobile
real
phone?
users? Yeah. So what we're going to do, folks, is this is your chance to participate. If you can pull out your mobile phone or your device, head over to destinasia.io, and why don't you join us in booking the travel while, Vishal, you're going to hit the load test. We're going to run that, all right? And we're going to simulate as if there's thousands of users. So head on over to destinasia.io and join us in the load test. You running the load test?
Load test has
Is
started.
running. All right. So there you can see a couple of, hey, Cheeseface just booked a flight, hotel. Thanks for that. And the more you book, there they are. Ted Banks in the house. Pete. All right. Arun. Colin McCabe. You figured it out. Well done, man. All right. That's awesome. And you can see the load on the bottom is an indication of how many users
Bill
are
Gates
going.
is in the house.
Bill Gates is in the house. Where is he? Huh? And you can see as we get the dial up there, we're
No
going
discounts for Gates.
exclamation.
No discounts for Gates.
No, no. So
room.
as we get more and more traffic and we're getting the simulated load, we're testing the environment, making sure that the system can handle it. And we've pretty much maxed out as much as we would expect in the worst possible Chinese New Year, that we can handle all the traffic that's necessary.
Donald, I was
Trump is
waiting
all
for
over
a
the
Donald
place.
booking
All right.
today.
Don't
Someone
test us,
must be
all right.
doing that.
Okay, you can switch it off. Thanks. Thanks. Audience participation. Very good. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Me too.
So what do you think, Frank? Are you confident now?
Seems
You think
to
it'll work?
Yeah, it seems to work. So we scaled the load up to max out the machines?
Yep. Yep.
All right. Very good, very good. Well, guys, I have to say, it feels like we've absolutely gained control and leveled up, that we're sort of on par with our competitors now, right, in terms of capabilities and scaling, which is good. But as you guys know, our industry, and many of yours probably, there's a lot of change, right? Software eating the world sort of thing. So my competitors are constantly looking to get one step ahead, which means we have to have the ability to get 2 steps ahead if we want to stay in business this time, right? So, what are we doing there? Did you guys discuss beyond getting better at what we already do?
That's right, Frank. We definitely need to get 2 steps ahead. And if you look at how we have been working today, our mode of operation has been, let's just focus us on innovating our services. But I think it's high time we need to, that we looked at how we also innovate our business model. Now, this brings me to the point that I left you off just now, the API management technology that
Yeah, I remember.
we learned at Red Hat. So, what we have been able to do today is to expose all of our backend systems as APIs, communicating using a common universal language, so that internal integration becomes very easy for Destinasia. Now, imagine if we are able to expose this API that we have developed outside of Destinasia to our customers and partners. Can you say monetization?
I can say monetization, if that's what you're inferring. I like the sound of that, But what exactly are we thinking of here?
All right. So, Frank, you probably heard of these guys, right?
Yeah, I have.
So they have been able to offer, personal property for holidays. So I can actually offer my personal property for holidays. And this is something that they have been able to do successfully. They have been able to unlock
You're
a
not
new
doing
segment.
that really,
You have
are
a
you?
personal property?
Yeah.
Really?
Did that count?
Wow, you
You're
get paid more than
competing
me,
with
man.
us now.
Okay.
Well, I was just trying out.
We need to discuss this, buddy.
But really, Frank, they have been able to unlock this segment of accommodation to which Destinasia doesn't have access to today. But one thing, if you would have noticed, is that they do not offer any form of car rental service as yet.
Oh, I'm glad they don't, actually. But they are a strong competitor, and we really are going to have that little talk there. But it's been very disruptive for my business, right? People suddenly have a new way and a new segment of properties to choose from. And frankly speaking, I would love for Destinasia to play in that market. I wonder if we can make a deal with them. You say we have APIs for our car service. They don't have a car service. Could we figure something out with them?
Wow, Frank, that's so visionary, right? I mean,
Amazing.
We spent 8 weeks, we couldn't think of this.
This guy's incredible.
I think that's why, Frank, really, you are the CEO. Really. And I think you are just waiting for us to show you some demo, right? I mean, after all this while, we have always showed you the real stuff. So let me show you the real stuff once again. This is what we use to capture all of our APIs. This is the API management platform from Red Hat. So as you can see, we have a couple of APIs that we have exposed for, to be specific. I'm going to zoom into the cars API right here because that's what we can offer to SENC. So let's just drill down. So a couple of sections here. I'll just go quickly through all of these sections. Now, the one that you see here on the left, this is a bit too technical for you, Frank, but it actually defines all the backend integration that happens when you want to expose this particular API that you have developed. Now, what will be more interesting to you is this section here on application plans. So think of this. It's like a telco plan where we can actually charge our customers and partners whenever they make calls to our APIs. So we can offer, let's say, our cars API to someone like SENC. We charge them $2,000 a month for 4,000 API calls. That
So
could be a basic
it's
plan.
like a mobile plan,
It's
right?
like a mobile plan. Or
Charge
how about a premium plan?
4,000 what? API calls? What is that?
So 4,000 accesses to our cars API, they have to pay $2,000.
4,000 bookings.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Wow.
We could even create a premium plan where it's like all you can eat for $10,000 a month. So additional revenue for us. Now,
I don't like all you can eat. Those
you
VMware
don't like all
guys
you
give
can
me
eat?
that all the time. It's
Okay.
not working out. So.
not working out. But exactly, so how do you then figure out whether something is working out or not? That's where you look at this section here on API analytics. So let me just drill down. And what you'll see is a chart of how well our cars API has been doing, let's say, in the past 7 days. So if you look at this chart, over the past 7 days, this particular API has been called 6,000 times, 6,000 hits. Now, what does it translate in terms of dollars and cents?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Let's do that. So revenue, let's look at the revenue. So $3,100 of additional revenue, untapped revenue.
We should get the rest of the day off. That's amazing, huh?
Let's talk about that after he removes his AirCNC property.
Right. So think of this, Frank. This is just the cars API. We can do the same thing with our hotels API and some of the new products that we are working internally. And then you're going to ask me this question. So how do we get more and more customers and partners to adopt this?
How do we get that?
That's what I'm going to show you next. Because this particular platform also provides you with an out-of-the-box customized API developer portal. So this is where we can host and publish all of our APIs. And if, let's say, I'm a customer or partner, and if I want to find out, hey, what type of APIs does Destinasia offer, we come to this particular developer portal. And what is the sort of information they can get from here? Well, it will tell you, what are the various plans that are available for these APIs, how much it costs, what you get for that particular plan. And for developers, it will also explain, how you can actually integrate your application with this particular API. So it's a great platform to market
That's
the APIs.
Very low barrier for people to start to use our service.
Right, and
low barrier means more usage.
More usage. So effectively, we want them to consume the APIs in an autonomous fashion. I think a word we've heard quite a bit. Right? Yeah.
Simple way is what you're trying to say, right?
That's right. So APIs, can really help businesses gain a lot of agility in terms of, integrating with the internal apps that, they have developed. Now, at the same time, it can also generate additional streams of revenue for you when you expose it outside of your organization to your customers and partners. Now, in order for you to be successful in this, you have to leverage technology, such as the Red Hat 3-Scale API management platform. Now, 3-Scale it's great at offering you with 3 key capabilities that you'll need to be successful when rolling out an API program. So first of all, it enables you to monetize your APIs, your assets, so that you are able to generate additional revenue streams, like just how we showed you in the demo just now. Secondly, it provides you with great API analytics, so you know exactly how your APIs are performing, who are accessing, well, basically all the business insight that you need, to see how your APIs are performing. And finally, it also provides you with a developer portal, which is a great platform for you to market your APIs, to encourage, your external customers and partners to come on board and start using the APIs that you have to offer.
That's really cool, Vishal. And to be honest, so much better than EDI, the thing we were using.
Right.
I love it. Very good. So, guys, I was talking to my cousin the other day. He's one of those young guys in startups and whatnot, and he's in an FSI startup where they're working on some new stuff, distributed ledgers and whatnot. And I had no idea what he was talking about, but I had him explain it, and he mentioned this thing, blockchain. And listening to him and his startup, I was wondering, how could we innovate on our rewards program? Because we have a lot of issues with the rewards program today, right? And you guys know this more than anybody, right? Yeah. There's lots of problems with the integrations we make, lots of manual tracking. We quite often miscount things where, people have paid with miles and, we actually don't charge them the full amount correctly, or they cancel a booking and we forget to return the miles. Lots of errors in the accounting due to the manual integrations that are there. So hearing him about this distributed ledger thing made me wonder, maybe this is an area we can invest and do something better. What do you think?
What do we think, Kingsley? Well, what we think is that with OpenShift, anything and everything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. That's what we think.
Okay. Well, I have a funny feeling that you guys have already built a prototype of this stuff, haven't you?
He's so on top of this, man.
Oh, Kingsley, he's incredible, and I guess that's why
he's the CEO.
All right, so shall we show the grand finale?
You want to show him
Let's
what we've been working on? Yes. All those late hours?
All those late hours. Let's show him this final piece of art that we have actually developed together with the folks at Red Hat. Now, Frank, this is a bit,
This is a prototype.
It's a prototype, so, we were going to work on an enhanced version of this. It looks
Remember what
nicer.
I said earlier, our prototype is not a word in my vocabulary. You mean it's a live app?
Well, something like that.
All right.
So Frank, what you see here is this brand new rewards program that we have developed. We call it Destinasia Dollars. So what does it allow you to do? It allows you to use your points that you have accrued or you have earned at Destinasia or any of the rewards partners that you have a membership with, and you can just cross-exchange and transfer the points. So let me just connect to my account here, and these are the reward partners that I have memberships with. So if I spend money and earn rewards as Destinasia dollars, or any of the rewards partners, I can interchange them very easily, very quickly. So for example, if you have a miles program, you want to transfer points, it can be done very easily, very quickly. You're not locked with a particular reward.
What does that
program.
check?
You're a member of Air C&C. There it is again. You know?
Yeah.
I'm not happy with where this is going, Vishal.
I mean, to understand their business model, right, I got to do some transactions with them.
Right.
So,
and that's why you're also a member of the Entertainment Club?
Entertainment Club? No?
It's on your list there, huh?
I think we should remove that, but yeah, I mean, I have not earned any points there, but I think was trying to. Let's look at.
You got 10,000 points.
Yeah, I did a couple of transactions with SENC.
A couple? You must have done hundreds.
No, actually 10,000 is like just worth $100.
Holding out on us, Vishal.
Can we get on with the demo, please?
Unbelievable.
Oh, let's do that. So why don't we do a live, points transfer? So what do you want to do, Kingsley?
Well, I need some new underwear and T-shirts from Gracie's department store. Can we use some points for that?
Right. How much would that cost?
I think it'll be about 750.
750,
Yeah.
right? Let's see. We don't have anything there. So let's just transfer from SENC to Gracie's. We transfer 750 points. They'll get
Thanks,
you
Vishal.
one underwear. So it's going to take some time because what happens now is this particular transaction is going to be written on a distributed ledger, and there's a back-end, cryptographic operation that happens.
Wait. Crypto what?
Cryptographic.
Is that like the stuff that my cousin was talking about, the Ethereum?
That's right. So everything that we have developed is running on the Ethereum open source project.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I did my homework.
You did.
and that happened pretty quickly, though.
Okay, so let's see. Let's see
It
if
still says 0.
750,
go.
and this should now be like 9,250 points. So why is this important, Frank? Because you know the last time you told us that you had earned so much miles and you wanted to book a reward flight on another airline,
Yeah.
but by the time the points got transferred, the flight was all sold out. So the benefit that you get is you're not just locked.
Instant.
It's instant. And
Love
why
it.
that happens is because, while in the past you have intermediaries that's basically the source of all these delays, we have now replaced all the intermediaries with something known as a smart contract, which is basically a digitized way of doing what humans would used to do. And that's why instead of taking 3 weeks for points to transfer, it can be done in
So
a
it
couple
can
of
go
minutes.
from members of the ecosystem from one to the other with
I love it.
cryptographic, no intermediary, huh?
Fantastic.
I love it. This is really nice, guys.
That's right.
That's totally amazing, guys. Unleashing your points. That's exactly what I had in mind. This must be a first in our industry when we introduced this, I think.
It is.
Pioneers.
We can use our points. We can use our points across any industry that we can set up a contract with, basically, right? That's really nice. It's great work, guys. Look, I have to say, honestly, you guys have done a stellar job. This was a 6-week engagement with the Red Hat team,
Yeah.
and this is what you came back with. That's fantastic. These guys know their stuff, I think, from what you tell me. So we've now got better control and insights in our business from an IT perspective, as well as some of the interactions that we're making with third parties as a company. I'm able to respond much more effectively to new things with the container platform that you guys have brought with you here. And frankly speaking, I'm glad that this is costing us a lot less money than it did before. It dynamically goes up and down. I'm looking forward to my next board meeting and deliver this improvement to them. But more importantly, for us in Destinasia, we now have the ability to really compete better in the market. We can create new ideas, introduce them faster, and honestly, I was feeling a bit at a loss when we started because we were not a leader in our space anymore. We were in the early days, and now I feel confident with a team like this that I can actually look at Destinasia being another leader again, and because of the partnership we forged with Red Hat in this. So guys, thank you very much for the work you've done there.
Frank, good job, Vishal.
Thanks to Red Hat and my team here, Kingsley and Vishal, come over here. I'm very happy to tell you that as of today, we are now the best in Asia. Thank you for listening.
Thanks. All right.
Good job. That works.
Thanks, Colin.
So thanks Frank and Kingsley and Vishal. As they mentioned, it's all shipping product. It's running on this box supplied by Intel. And I think one of the key things around this was taking people through the journey, which started with the Open Innovation Lab. If you want to know more about Open Innovation Labs, just go and have a chat with us at the consulting booth. Thank you all very much.